Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 1. It is simply titled Brother. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. This is interesting coming back to this show after about a year, close to a year since the Season 1 ended. And we added the short treks, of course. If you didn't catch our review of those, we did them as a batch last week, both in the audio feed and on YouTube. But, which, interestingly, Saru did mention his sister this episode.
Almost immediately.
Yeah, and I went, you know what? I didn't need to see that before you mentioned that, because it was just a casual mention anyway, but it meant something, because I'd seen her. I was like, oh.
It hadn't, like, I
context.
imagine if you've not seen them, that still played.
Yeah.
But knowing what he was actually referring to, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Well, yeah, because it was natural, because she was talking about her brother, so it made sense for him to mention his sister. But, so we could come back, and we were speculating like how different Season 2 might be. We've had a change of showrunners. We had a number of problems with Season 1. There was some good stuff in the middle, but it had its ups and downs. And actually, the big previously on at the start, I don't know how you felt seeing all that Season 1 stuff again, but when it got to the speech at the end, where Michael's like saying, "No, this is what Starfleet means, this is what the Federation means," and I was like, yeah, they never earned that speech at all.
No, they didn't.
Never earned it at all. Do you know, I was actually hoping that after that it cut to there's like black and white drawings of space, or not drawings, but black, like, grainy black and white, like, satellite footage essentially. As Michael started, space, the final frontier. I thought, oh, is this going to be in every episode? I kind of like how this feels.
I think that's some real footage.
It wouldn't surprise me. It looks authentic.
It looks familiar, like I've seen it before.
But it's just like a little speech she gives for the prologue of the episode, as opposed to.
Do you know what I will say to give Season 1 some modicum of credit?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like I needed that recap at all. It was all very distinct and vivid in my memory.
No, that's fair. It was.
Not necessarily all for the right reasons.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, there were some things I remembered because okay, that wasn't so great, but I actually remember the whole season pretty well, in more detail than I usually would after a year.
Yeah, Joe's funny about watching this episode is that right away there was more humor. Right, Pike especially, I think, is very funny at times.
Yeah.
Because they're investigating like red flares or whatever, these red readings that they're seeing, and they come out at warp speed at the location, and Pike immediately goes,
"Where the hell's my red light?
Where's my red thing? I was expecting a red thing. Where is it?" Or even before that, the science officer who comes with them, he's explaining the measurements are all messed up, and Michael goes, "Oh, it's like a compass when you're at the North Pole," and Pike goes, "Oh, that was a really succinct way of explaining it that I understand. Just think, science officer, whatever his name is, just think of all those syllables that lost their lives while you were trying to explain it," and I thought that was actually really funny. So it's got humor. Now it's funny, 'cause obviously all the classic Trek we've been watching. If this is the first time you've watched us talk about Star Trek, or listened to us talk about Star Trek Discovery, we are working through the old shows right now. We were like halfway through the original series when we watched Season 1 last year, and we just started the Next Generation. And humor is a part of the show, like. Original season
in different ways, but it's always been there.
In different ways, but humor has definitely always been a part of the show, and this definitely feels a bit more like. I'm tempted to say Marvel humor, like Marvel Cinematic Universe style of humor.
I can buy that. It definitely feels a very modern style of humor.
Yeah, it feels much more like that classic, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just an observation more than anything else. The humor feels different. So. I would say this was a much more enjoyable episode out the gate compared to last year.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part. There are one or two things I'm worried about. One or two critiques that I've got. Okay. But for the most part, this was more enjoyable. I will sort of come back round to something we said a few times last year. And I think I definitely feel it with this episode. And I think because I enjoyed it more than most of last season, I think I really feel like defined. Like this statement is defined now, even more so that I enjoyed this, is that this is a good action sci-fi show. I don't necessarily think it's a good Star Trek show.
I disagree, actually.
You disagree? Why do you disagree?
I think last season I'd have agreed with that, but already this feels more in keeping with Star Trek Trek's ideals and the point. They're literally going out. It's like, hey, something's going on. Let's go investigate, right?
Oh, that part, sure. Okay, I see what you're
So
saying.
to me, it does feel more like it's a different kind of Star Trek. It's definitely a modern Star Trek. It definitely is still heavily influenced from the Abrams movies.
I'm talking about more like how it handles certain things and how it shoots certain things. It is definitely more interested in the action side of things.
It is, yes.
There's this giant action set piece of them, like flying through this asteroid field within these little ships.
Kind of fantastic.
And it looks pretty good, yeah. For a TV show, this looks phenomenal. This was something we said last year. Is the effects are movie level, and it still feels that way. I will say I really wish they could kill it on the Dutch angles. Every time it cut back to the bridge during this, it was like Dutch angle, Dutch angle. Everything's a Dutch angle, Dutch,
A little bit,
Dutch. Yeah. We really like the Dutch on this show for some reason. But so that would be my thing. Is it's more about how it feels in terms of like. As soon as it was gearing up for this moment, I thought. Now, admittedly, part of this is like because in the old shows they just couldn't do anything like this, so that's why it's more action focused, and that's true. There's an argument to be made there. I think there is, but it is definitely more of an action show than I think of as Star Trek.
I think that's fair. I think for me though, the action isn't the defining part of the episode, and that's what makes it different to me. The action is good, and those bits it enjoys and relishes in doing them. But it's not, okay, this is what we're here for. So that's what stops it feeling like it's just an action show to me. And it still becomes, more about Star Trek.
I don't agree with you yet.
Okay.
I think this first episode, the feeling I still get from this show is that we are an action sci-fi show first and Star Trek second.
Fair enough. For me, everything on the ship down on the asteroid, everything down there was way more what the episode was about than the action sequence. The action was like, hey, let's have something fun in the middle.
Yeah, but it was like 40 minutes by the time we get to that
but there was other stuff as well. I'm just saying, in terms of what the point of the episode was, that felt more the point than the action to me.
Again, it's how it handles it. It's how it seems to gear up for it. And I'm not actually complaining here. I don't want this to sound negative. I enjoyed all this stuff. I'm just saying that I don't think this is a good Star Trek show. At least not yet. Maybe it'll become a good Star Trek show.
Fair enough.
This was a good action episode.
I think we're going to have to disagree on this one.
Right now I disagree with you. I don't think it's a good Star Trek show yet, and it may be a while. And I'm worried because Alex Kurtzman, who's behind it, and Alex Kurtzman has had some absolute trash in his career, so I am concerned.
He has, but I mean, he was also fairly involved with the Abrams movies, right?
Yeah, and Into Darkness was garbage.
Yeah, but 1 out of 3. That's still overall net positive.
Was he involved in the third one? I don't think he was.
As far as I know, he was. Because
Maybe
wasn't he going to be involved in the fourth one for a while? Like quite hands on when that was still going to happen.
Maybe you're right. I don't know.
I feel like I remember Simon.
He's
Pegg
not a name that inspires confidence. Let's be honest here.
No, that's fair.
He was involved in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He does not get confidence at all.
I'm not saying give the man a pass. I'm saying so far when it comes to Star Trek, out of those movies is 2 for 3, and then I'm not holding him responsible for season 1 of Discovery because that was all Fuller's fault.
Oh, if it was all Fuller's fault. Although I'm happy to blame Fuller because I don't like Fuller's work typically, but
I think not all directly Fuller's fault, but a lot of the early problems were directly him, and then the gaping void that left when he that was there when he left was okay. Quick scramble to do something.
Joe, it's funny. I'm not accusing the show of like ignoring stuff that happened in season 1 here because it definitely doesn't. It mentions the Klingon War multiple times,
but it's kind of like that doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah, it kind of feels like this is almost a new pilot since like it was with Michaels especially, right? Throughout this episode, like Michaels interacts with people, like people meet her for the first time. Pike meets her for the first time. He's like, "Oh yeah, they said you were smart," and then later on, he's like having jokes with her. It almost feels like the fact that she was like the only ever mutineer and like started a war is kind of irrelevant now. And obviously, the show was going to have to get kind of grow to a point that didn't matter anymore anyway at some point. But it just kind of feels like, yeah, like if we were designing this show from the start now, we probably wouldn't have done that.
It's a double-edged sword because at the same time as all this stuff's really good, and I kind of prefer it to just forget about season 1. Let's just go from fresh start, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I understand that. I mean, season 1 did happen. We probably should have that continuity there.
Actually, it uses it in a smart way a couple of times. I like that Pike points out that the crew's probably not trusting of a new captain because of what Lorca did. I'm like, okay, you know what? I like that you're using that in that way. That's fine. Pike's quite likable right away. I'm glad he's on the show.
Do you know one of the moments that made this truly feel like a pilot? In a way that last season never did, to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
The roll call.
Yeah, I knew we were going to bring this up because I started laughing when he said this.
Because we laughed all the way, all the way through last season. We were like, we don't know these bridge characters. We couldn't even name them.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. Like, we don't know who these people are. We spoke multiple times last season where we checked their names in the credits. Not only the roll call, which clearly I think is almost a meta moment of them addressing that, yeah, we've not actually given time to any of these people. Not only that, I'm fairly certain that some of these characters had more lines of dialogue in this episode than they had in the entirety of season 1.
Yeah, the two ladies up at the front definitely did.
Yeah, which are Detmer and I'll go with Joanne. Last name I'm not sure about, but yeah, we'll go with Joanne.
I was during the roll call. I laughed at the kind of the cyborgy looking one, because the whole thing was, Pike goes, right, roll call and no ranks.
Arium, for the record.
Arium, okay, yeah, Arium. No ranks, and then she just couldn't help herself. Is it the only one?
Yeah, she's the only one to give a rank. Yeah, so no, I like that it's making the bridge crew feel like they're actually going to be more like, maybe not characters with arcs per se, but we're going to know them. We're going to at least have an idea of who they are, so that when, because there's that moment where they kind of like look at each other, the two ladies at the front kind of look at each other. It's just when Michael's like, "Hey, you've got this, ladies, right? Like, we're not going to die because you're only command us remotely," and they're like, "Yeah, we've got it." Like, okay, that was more character from both of them than the entire of season 1.
Yeah, it was a touch of personality.
Yes.
It's not even that much. In other shows, we probably wouldn't be praising this.
No, but so that's good. That's good. The action is pretty fun. It's generally quite likable. Michael, in some small ways, almost feels like a different character because she is having these little jokes that I feel like she would never have done last year.
Tilly's rubbed off on
her. Tilly's rubbed off on her, yeah. So like, I'm actually quite positive about this episode overall. I didn't, and it sounded like I was trying to be negative when I was debating with you about it feeling like Star Trek or not. And I don't want to. None of that was meant to be negative. That I enjoyed this episode. I think I'm going to enjoy this season, barring one or two worries, which I'll get to in a minute. But I just don't think it feels like Star Trek necessarily.
Fair enough.
They've got Star Trek logos, and I actually kind of like them having the yellow, the blue, and the red.
They're starting to phase in the new uniforms.
Although I did laugh because I think Pike at one point actually used the phrase "red shirt" for someone, and I started laughing. I thought that was a bit much. Maybe rein that in a little bit.
That was a nice swerve with the red shirt thing, though.
Oh yeah, the blue shirt died instead.
Yeah, which I'm really glad, because holy shit, he was boring and so bland. Like like the first bit, like immediately I'm like, this guy's bland.
Yeah, nah, but I mean that's clearly why he was bland, because they knew they were killing him.
Yeah, it's fine. It became fine, but at first I was concerned that he was going to stick around for at least a couple of episodes. So I was like, okay, I don't like this guy.
Do you know the other thing that stuck out to me is after most of the episode happens, and it's that scene before Michael goes over to the Enterprise to look at Spock's things, and she's talking to Pike, and Pike literally turns around at the end of the scene and says, "Hey Michael, as we go on our adventures and our missions, let's try and have some fun along the way, eh?" And I thought, this is almost ridiculous how much it's saying, hey, I know season 1 was a bit too edgy and serious, we're going to have fun this year.
I don't think there's even any swearing in this episode.
No, there is. It's a shit.
Oh, okay.
Although amusingly, it was a guy that died that said it, but there was a shit.
Okay, fine. There's no F-bombs, though, which there was before, right?
Yeah, only one episode, though.
Oh, was there?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Clearly, that stuck with me more than I realised.
Because even that was notable in Discovery, because it was only one episode that did it.
Fair enough. It clearly stuck with me more than I realised.
But yeah, so him turning around and saying that though, I almost want to complain about it because it almost took me out of the show, because I felt it pause. I felt the writers pause it and then just say, "Hey guys, we're going to be fun this year." Just
yeah, I know, I get that. I'm assuming that's just to get out of the way, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to be a thing.
No, just do it. Just don't tell me you're going to do it. Just do it.
No, I get that. Like I said, I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's like, sure, you want to just try and make a statement. They're just trying to make the point. I mean, like, look, we get it, and I agree. That's maybe that's the place for the interviews and not for in the
Yes.
show, right? But fine, it's done now.
But here's
It
the thing,
happened
though.
right at the end of the episode.
If you're watching this, you've already paid your subscription, or you're at least on the free trial, right?
Yeah.
You're going to see at least, at worst, you've got 4 episodes worth before your like subscription runs out.
Mm.
So, you don't have to be sold on one episode. You can win them over before.
No, I agree. I'm just saying this isn't gonna be a recurring thing, right? It's just okay. This is it. It's done now.
I'll laugh now if it is, though. End of every episode.
No, if it is, it becomes a problem.
End of every episode, Pike turns to everyone and goes, "That was a fun mission, wasn't it, guys? Yeah, we're having fun. This is fun. We're on Star Trek. I mean, we're on
To be honest, if it does it every episode, it might come all the way back around and become funny.
It might very well, yes. I don't know if that's what I want from. Let's be honest. This is the flagship Star Trek show. We're getting others, sure, but this is the flagship one.
It is, yeah.
So, yeah. But the action was really good. They go out to the planet. They're investigating these red lights / readings, signals. Yes. They end up with this asteroid field where well, at least one of them was emanating from, and they find a crash ship that's been there for 10 months during the war. We meet this Jet, who's not actually a doctor. She's an engineer, but she's basically acting as a doctor and keeping like most of her crew. Well, at least whoever's left.
The couple that had to stay down there.
Yeah. As well, a couple. It was a good half dozen at least.
Yeah, it was a handful, but like the majority of them, evacuated. These were the ones that were too injured to go.
So they come in, they save her, and well, I mean, obviously, I was getting like proper Mass Effect vibes throughout a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Their helmet is like going away and coming back felt very Mass Effect. The music felt even Mass Effect.
Can we talk about the very shiny suits?
Very shiny, yes.
Like, I'm pretty sure I went blind from the reflection temporarily. when they all stepped out like Power Rangers in the sparkly suits and the different colours.
Joe, I thought Power Rangers as well. That's the exact thing I thought of. When the 4 of them come out and they're all in different colours.
Yeah.
And it was like full body suits. I went. I mean, I don't hate it, but
yeah,
I feel like someone should be shouting Morphin Time or something.
Yeah.
But no, so that's fine. It sets up stuff. Where my concerns kind of come in. Well, this is not a concern. This is just an outright statement. The flashbacks with young Spock, the young Spock looks stupid.
Yeah, it's the eyebrows.
It wasn't even just that. I thought because it was clearly a wig they had on him, and I thought the wig looked really wide for his head.
Yeah, I think my problem is the eyebrows look really fake. Like they look like they're stuck on like pieces of felt or something.
I think the other problem with it as well is that he's standing there trying to look stoic because that's how Spock looks, but it's an 8-year-old trying to look stoic, so it just looks kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we don't get too much of these.
I hope not. But another thing that I am a little concerned with is because I was kind of expecting something here in the final minute. And I was really going to be... actually, a few things I was expecting. Because Spock's been on leave for a while, right? They explained that Spock's been gone for a while because he's been having nightmares. I mean, I don't think Pike says he had nightmares, but we find that out. He was having nightmares in his log. Because we hear his voice at the end from his computer. And before this, I honestly thought there was a chance they were going to find Spock in that crash ship. Like, I thought if they find
really?
Spock, I'm going to, like, this is so contrived. They didn't, so it's fine. But there was a moment, right? There was a moment where I thought they might do the really, cheesy TV thing. And then she finds this computer, and it's like all the red lights in the map, and it's like all forming. And I'm like, oh god, Spock's also hunting this thing. I'm like, okay, right, this connected, it's fine. But then, of course, during the plot of the episode, after Michael gets hurt for a brief second, after everyone beams out and she gets kind of trapped on the asteroid herself for a little bit, she has this vision of an angel, essentially.
Yeah, I believe it's being referred to as the Red Angel.
The Red Angel. I'm a little bit worried about this Red Angel bollocks.
Okay.
I'm a little bit worried that her and Spock are apparently both having visions / nightmares of some cosmic entity that's going to possibly like the plot just feels this is something where I'm also going back to it feels un-Star Trek-y to me is this this big bad
Here's the thing.
coming from
I never got the
wherever.
impression that they were linked with these visions. Spock definitely, but Michael's happens in such a specific situation when she's on this weird rock, right? You know, the whole
Yeah.
place is weird.
'Cause-
You know, that's what Tilly wants to get there for a sample.
Because that was the other thing that I thought was going to happen at the end when she was on the computer, is I thought that when she, because it's we see him using the flashback, you sort of pull the hologram out of it almost, right?
Yeah.
I thought when she pulled the hologram out, it was going to be a hologram of the angel, like, you know, that's what Spock's been seeing. I thought it was going to be the exact same thing. Now, again, it didn't do that, but he's clearly still searching for the same energy sources. He's clearly still involved in that
He is
plot.
a little contrived, but I'm willing to let that slide for the sake of plot. The vision thing, we will revisit later if it becomes more of a concern for sure. Because for me, like I said, it didn't feel like they were linked. Spock's been having nightmares for some reason. However, Michael's vision felt very specifically tied to where she was rather than anything else that had to do with who she is.
Yeah. Do you know, I had a lot of fun with this episode. I'm not like convinced that they can pull off what they're seemingly trying to set up here with this Red Angel.
I'm willing to give them the chance. I'm not willing to say, oh, I'm concerned about this in premise just yet. I think they haven't done anything.
Well, I'm going to give him a chance, obviously, no matter what we're here talking about it.
Yeah, but I've not got any reason to say I should be concerned about this.
I've got a reason. His name is Kurtzman.
Look, we've been over this already. No, I'm giving this show its chance. Not just going, oh, it's Kurtzman, so it's going to turn out something shit.
I'm not saying it will. I'm saying that's a concern. Saying I've got a concern is not me assuming it's going to be bad. There's a difference.
No, there is, but I feel like this is relatively baseless at the moment.
Oh, well. I mean, I hope you're right, but I'm going to come back to that relatively baseless bullshit in 6 episodes' time if this goes to shit.
It could go to shit. It could. But right now, it's a baseless fear. You give me shit all the time for being worried about things that there's no grounds for. And I feel like this is you doing the same, to be quite honest.
No, the difference is here is we just had a pretty mediocre to bad season 1. I mean, I know there's someone different behind the wheel, as it were, but I think it's, you know, it leaves you with this taste. So you come into this and you need it to prove itself to you. That's kind of how I came out of this episode, and for the most part, it did actually.
No, I get that, but what you're concerned about feels like it has nothing to do with anything from season 1, even in terms of what season 1's problems were.
Sure.
This is something completely different. So, I don't know. Feels unfair to me.
I'm not convinced of what the plot is as of yet. Like I say, it goes back to me not thinking this feels like Star Trek. Red Angel feels a bit more, I don't know. It feels like something. It feels like something of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where there's a big bad.
I don't know. It's probably some godlike entity, and then it's classic Trek in a nutshell.
Yeah, but then it's the worst of classic Trek. Those are like all the worst episodes.
To be honest, it kind of reminds me more of a couple of the movies in terms of the way this premise feels. Not like specifically what the movies were doing, but in terms of the style of setup of being, you know, there's something there. The way it presents itself, it feels more akin to that than some of the episodes.
I think my biggest problem with it is that it makes Spock and Michael, and at least Spock, feel like they're important, like, and connected to this thing.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Like I don't like them retroactively trying to make it Spock like he's some sort of chosen one.
No, if that is the case, I will give you that one.
Like why is he having visions of it, and why has he been having that since childhood?
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I don't know if he outright says that the dreams he had as a kid were the exact same as a nightmare, but it was implied because he said he was having nightmares as a kid, and then his mother taught him to, you know, control it, and end up coming back, and this is what he's off looking for. So. I have to assume it is. So that is my concern. Is that I'm not necessarily a fan of Spock's the chosen one.
Yeah. Okay. This is one I'll give you.
So that because it goes back into the prequel thing, right? Where I would rather they just don't use Spock at all.
Yeah, but I mean we're doing it now. So
hell, I would rather Michael wasn't related to him. I think the first thing about Star Trek Discovery that made me groan in premise was when they told us that Michael was Spock's sister. I was like,
No, I agree. That was always a bit questionable.
And obviously we're just kind of used to it now. It's like whatever, but Do you know what it does? It's one of those things that makes it almost impossible for me to like accept this in the original series as being actually in canon with each other. Because I can't watch the original series and believe, oh yeah, Michael's Spock's sister and this all happened before.
Yeah, I get that. I'm probably in terms of a canon acceptance, I'm a little bit more forgiving because I'm quite happy with a lot of, in terms of other properties,
Shit, Star Wars stuff, yeah.
not just Star Wars. Mass Effect you've mentioned. I'm quite happy to read those books and consider them. No, they're canons, the comics. I'm fine to just until something contradicts them. I'm happy for it to be added to it until something later comes along and goes, you know what, that was changing. Then I just kind of update in my head. I'm quite happy to do that. I've been very used to doing that for a long time.
Yeah. I think you have somehow made me come off feeling quite negative about this, and I'm not actually that negative. I really like this episode. I feel like you seem to want to defend every single thing I'm saying about it. It's weird.
No. I defended one or two things. I definitely agree with you on the Spock being the chosen one thing. That could be bollocks.
Yeah, and I'm saying chosen one because it's just the obvious thing to describe it as. It's not necessarily the chosen one. It just means he's important
for some reason
because he's connected to it, and he's having nightmares of it because for some reason.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's a bigger problem with Spock than it is with Michael because at least she's new, right? It's like fine, whatever. It's still a bit contrived and a cheesy plot device. We've been over this on many a show and movie in the past. But it is worse when it's Spock doing it because it's like there's no need.
Yeah, Spock's already important. We don't have to, dress him up.
Do you know one of the things I did really like in this episode, though?
Yeah.
Sarek with Michael.
Sarek's all right, yeah.
I just thought, the way he was, talking about it about Spock and just, like these little moments. I was like, yeah, okay, this came off. This really played well for me.
I mean, I've always liked him, but I like Saru in this episode quite a bit. I like the little joke where, his gills start doing that thing because he's sensing death, and one of the bridgemen looks over at him and he just turns and goes, "Well, are you surprised?"
Yeah.
I was like, that was kind of funny. Stamets wants to leave the ship. He's like, seeing his dead husband everywhere, and Telly doesn't want him to leave. But she seems to kind of like inspire him with science a little bit when she wants to capture the asteroid chunk.
Yeah. What was the thing she says at the end?
That was the power of math.
The power of math, and it's got the Star Trek theme playing behind. I'm like, this is glorious.
Yeah. No, I thought this was. Do you know what it didn't have? And I really appreciate this. It didn't have the feeling that season one had the entire time. It just felt a little bit off.
It felt a lot more natural. I'm hoping that some of our other cast get a bit more time. Like Saru, I know you said you liked what was there, and I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely felt overshadowed by the arrival of Pike and such.
Which makes sense because it's the premiere episode with him in it. It makes sense to introduce him and tease the Spock stuff.
Yeah, I'm hoping it settles into a more regular groove.
Yeah. So I'm concerned about Ash coming back because we see him in the trailer.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
I don't want to see Ash again. he was like the worst character in season one. Just be gone.
Yeah, you know what? That is a concern I will share happily.
And the romance that had zero chemistry or feeling in it.
Please
whatsoever.
Treat that in the way they've treated the rest of season one. Just forget about it. Move on. Didn't happen.
Oh dear. Yeah. So no. So and the chance that I have sounded more negative than I intended to be, I had fun with 95% of this episode. The jokes were making me chuckle. The action looked good. The music was good. I thought there was a lot of good music beats throughout. Yeah. Literally, actually, Joe, my thing with the Red Angel probably, other than the Chosen One thing with Spock and just it feeling a bit untracky, is probably the opening thing from Mike, because I like the opening thing from Michael when it started, but after the first bit, it was just kind of your typical Star Trek speech. It started talking about the people who first charted stars and opened the Milky Way.
The story from the tribes of Africa.
Yeah, it really reminded me of like a crappy like horror movie, and it's like the prologue scene that sets up the ancient evil that's coming back.
I'll give you that, and it's clearly like, okay, this Red Angel and these red lights are to do with that story, right? That was okay. No, it was real in some way,
and it may be fine. Like it may actually be riveting all the way through, and I've got nothing to complain about. It's just this is one of these kind of tropes. This speech that just makes me worry because I usually associate it with some really shitty things. Not often horror movies, but not always.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that.
Or even pick something like an adventure movie where not The Mummy, but I'm thinking things like The Mummy. There's
okay, yeah, I'm with you.
You get stuff like that, but ancient evil comes back.
Yeah. In things like The Mummy, it's not the prologue narration. It's more you see the thing in the past.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, here it is again, and you kind of like, okay.
Same difference. You show me it, you tell me it.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure at least one of the Mummy movies has done that.
Yeah. No, I'm sure. I think all of them have done it. well, maybe not the newer one with Cruisy Boy.
Cruise. Yeah, I couldn't remember about that one.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Kurtzman.
Yeah.
Just for the I don't even mean that, but Kurtzman directed that bad boy.
Yeah. I mean, look, Kurtzman's not writing this, as far as I'm aware. Wait, is he?
He's a showrunner, is he not?
He's the showrunner, but I don't think he's not the only writer, which is the point.
He's not the only writer. He's still the one running the show, though.
Yeah, he has got a team. Do you know what? He doesn't actually have a writer's credit on this episode. He does have a director's credit, though.
He does, yes.
And I thought the director, other than being over the top in the Dodge angles, which I'll give you, I thought the direction was mostly pretty good.
That was fine. It didn't strike me as particularly good, particularly bad.
It was
fine.
Solid in showing everything that was doing. All the action looked great.
It was competent.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's the word you're looking for. It was competent.
Fine, competent, but on TV that's good enough.
Oh dear. Is there anything else that I wanted to mention or discuss? Well, I think that's everything. It was good. It was a full hour, by the way. I wasn't expecting that when I started it.
Yeah, I don't know if they all will be, or if it's just a
premiere
special.
Thing. Yeah, I could see it being that. Because last year I seem to recall them being pretty consistently, 42, 44 minutes kind of thing.
You might be right. You could be right on that. I don't really remember. Obviously, the first one was a double, right?
That's 2 slots. That's normal for TV.
Yeah. So I don't really know, but I mean, I'll be honest. I felt this went in quite quickly. I wasn't there going,
no, it did. It did. That wasn't a complaint that it dragged on. It actually went in pretty smoothly, which is a good sign. Because I think when I talk about season 1 having this like stiltiness to it, I often felt the runtime because it felt like I was watching a series of scenes rather than a cohesive episode. If that makes any sense.
Definitely. This didn't have that problem.
This didn't have that problem. It felt more confident. So Kurtzman might shit the bed in terms of the overall plot, and I'm half expecting it, but
it's possible.
But I'm hoping that if we at least stay at this level of quality for the rest of the season, I'll be pretty happy by the end.
Yeah, me too.
But
Joe is I'm less bothered about the plot being shit because I feel like I might actually get to know some characters this season. And as long as I come out with, okay, here's some good characters that I actually like, beyond like the 3 that we already know.
That'd be nice.
I'm going to take that as a net win for the season.
Yeah, no, that'd be nice. No, I want to know the bridge crew. The bridge crew is important. And the idea as well that we've got like Saru's still kind of captain, but Pike's staying on as co-captain.
Yeah, I feel like Pike will take all the important missions, and Saru will do the day-to-day.
No, Joe, it is. It's because Pike wants to go in the away team every time, so he can leave a captain in charge when he goes.
Yeah, I'm in my head referring to Saru as captain in training.
Yes, that's fine.
This is clearly Pike going, do you know what? Let's get him up to speed, and then he can for season 3. Because I don't think Pike's sticking around past this season, and then season 3, Saru can just be the captain.
Which reminds me, so they mentioned the Enterprise was on its 5-year mission, and they missed the war.
Yeah.
Has it always been canon that they have been on a 5-year mission before the 5-year mission with Kirk?
I mean, doesn't surprise me. They go on numerous 5-year missions, right? You know.
Sure, I don't know. Well, yeah, but in Star Trek, when you talk about the 5-year mission, we're always talking about the original
Yeah, I think
series.
that's more Kirk's
Yeah, okay.
command as 5-year mission. The ship itself can be repurposed, right?
Always 5 years, though.
Yeah, that's the standard, right? I
Okay.
mean, I guess that's just the thing.
All right. Yeah.
I do hope some of that comes up in terms of dealing with season one fallout to some extent. Pike, feeling guilty that he kind of missed out the whole war.
Yeah. It's funny. I think it's using some of the season one stuff in interesting ways, but at the same time, I kind of want them just to be like, okay, well, you've done that now. Just can we not talk about the Klingon War? Can we not talk about Ash? Can we not talk about some of this stuff?
Oh, I'm dreading Ash. Screw Ash.
At least when George O shows back up, it's like, oh no, we're setting up Section 31.
Yeah, that's gonna be fine. That's got a direction where we know where that's headed.
Yes, yes. Which is funny because we've not talked about that yet properly because we're recording the news after this, which is where we're going to talk about that. But yeah, so that is episode 1 of Star Trek Discovery season 2. Honestly, I'd put this in a fairly happy win column.
Yeah, I'm really happy with this.
As much as I have some more concerns than I do critiques, I have 1 or 2 critiques of this episode. Mostly, it's just concerns of where the main plot could go, because I am not ready to trust. I'm not ready to just, willingly, like, blindfold myself and bend over and say, go on, give it your best go.
This is where the fun is, though.
I have to monitor the situation.
Take some risks.
I'll take risks elsewhere, thank you very much.
Bend over once or twice. Have some fun.
Well, I'll bend over every time someone asks, right, Connor? Unlike some people on this show. So,
Only if you ask nicely.
where has this went? Let us know what you thought of the Discovery season premiere in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. You can get us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here. And you get access to the weekly classic Trek reviews a week early on there. So you go check out our next gen reviews and all of the original series and the original movies. We've done all those. Go have a look at those. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Keep watching Star Trek. And to everyone but Connor, live long and prosper.